Hello everyone. Today we are going to study that how scientists study nature. Okay. So in studying nature, what scientists do? They form and test hypotheses. Okay. So first, what science is? Science is simply derived from a Latin word which means to know. So it is a way of knowing our natural world, ourselves, other life forms, planet, universe, right? And at the heart of science, what is there? Inquiry. What is inquiry? The search for information and explanation of natural phenomenon here. We are studying science here, so here natural phenomenon. If police is investigating something, right, then inquiry will be for different cases, right? Criminal cases and other things. There also there will be search for information and explanation and other things. Here inquiry is search for information and explanation of any natural phenomenon, for which the scientist will be doing careful planning, reasoning, creativity, right? Patience will be there. There will be challenges, there will be adventure, there will be luck, they will go to different places, they will do adventures, right? And then they will gather the information. And in this process of inquiry, in which there will be search for information, right? To search the information, for gathering information, what the scientists will do? To gather information, they will explore and observe different things. So there will be exploration and observation to gather information. They will go to different places, they will explore the places, they will observe different things, and in that they can take help of even different tools. Like suppose the scientists took some water from pond and they have to look what life is inside that water, so they will need microscope to check different unicellular organisms. For example, if they have to check this correct temperature of something, they will need precision thermometers. Even high speed cameras can be used. They are used for different, to gather different information. And when the experts observe different thing, then on the basis of observation they get different information, right? Because for information only they explored and got and observed different things. So whatever observations they made, they will record it, and recorded information is data. So that data is the thing that they observed from different explorations, observations, right? And different things. Now data can be qualitative and quantitative both. If I say data can be qualitative, data can be quantitative. Qualitative, for example, Jane Goodall. She was a woman who spent many decades in observing the behaviors of chimpanzee during her field research in Tanzania. In Tanzanian jungle, what she studied? Chimpanzee behavior. Different chimpanzees, they behave differently in different situations. So that is qualitative data. I have written quantitative. That is qualitative data. Now the data can be quantitative also, right? So the same, suppose what she did, she suppose checked the frequency and duration of different behaviors for different members of the group, right? For specific behavior, suppose she studied the frequency and duration, for how much duration that particular behavior was there, right, of specific behavior. For different members of group. Of a group. For different members of a group. Okay. Now, sir, okay. Now, when we get data, right, we analyze it. So that data analysis is done. And that analysis is done using a special mathematics called statistics. Okay. Now, after analyzing the observations, right, or data, so after analyzing the data, the scientist get conclusions, make important conclusions. Okay. And when they make conclusions, they also take help of the process called induction. We say inductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning. For example, suppose different organisms were observed by the scientists. Suppose they observed, suppose onion. They observed, suppose some plant, any plant, suppose neem or any other plant. They observed some bacteria. They observed some animal, right? Suppose us, our part, our cheek or anything. In all of them, when they studied, they came to know that all of these are made up of cells. So on the basis of different observations, general conclusions were made. Generalizations were made. So what happens in this? That what we derive? We derive generalizations from a large number of specific observations. Okay. So this is induction or inductive reasoning. Now, there is one more thing called deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning. This is opposite of inductive reasoning. In this, what happens? That from general the information goes to specific. For example, in general, what we know, that all organisms are made up of cells, right? Every organism is made up of cell. Now suppose the organism, the scientists got some new life. They got some bacteria. So what is the generalization? That all organisms are made up of cells. All living organisms are made up of cells. So they have got a living organism, so that is also made up of a cell. So bacteria is made up of cell. Bacteria is also made up of cell. So made up of cell, and that is unicellular water. So this is specific generalization from, sorry, this is specific thing. From general things we came to specific. This is deductive reasoning. What is this? Deductive reasoning. Okay, now it said that in inquiry there will be search for information and there will be explanation of natural phenomenon, and that explanation, for explaining we make hypothesis. We make hypothesis in explaining and then test the hypothesis. For example, suppose I have told you earlier that there is beach mouse. You remember Peromyscus polionotus? I will discuss this again in next lecture, I think. Peromyscus polionotus. This same species, one type lives in beach, that is beach mouse, and its color is light so that it can camouflage in the background. And one is inland mouse, its color is dark so that it can camouflage in the soil. But it took years, it took experiments to come to the conclusion that why their color is according to their background, why this color is light or dark. So scientists made different hypotheses and tested it. So what they did, forming and testing hypothesis. They made hypothesis that to protect themselves from predators, to protect the organisms from the predators, they have adapted over years so that they can camouflage in the background. But this hypothesis was tested. This hypothesis was made and tested with different experiments, right? In which the scientists took models of different colors, they placed in the background, then they tested which models were bitten by the predators, like that, and then they came to conclusion, okay, our hypothesis is correct, that to camouflage themselves from predators, to protect themselves from predator, they have undergone camouflage, and this color has adapted over many years. So in explaining the natural phenomenon, there is hypothesis formation and testing. Understood? And for that different experiments are carried out. I will discuss an experiment in next lecture, that scientists for this beach mouse, they did an experiment. I told you, they kept model of different colors, right? Then they checked which one was bitten, which was having more bite marks, like that. Okay, so what is hypothesis? Hypothesis is nothing but logical explanation, right? This explanation is there for the natural phenomenon. This explanation is to be logical explanation. So hypothesis is logical explanation. And to test the hypothesis, experiment is done. And experiment is scientific test carried out under controlled conditions, that we will study later, right? Carry with an example of mouse, in different lecture we will study. Carried out under controlled conditions. So this was a very small topic that was given in Campbell, right? The concept 1.3, you can study that. And then they say that the scientific process is flexible, right? Suppose if hypothesis is formed, right? So they will form and test hypothesis, forming and testing hypothesis. Now they formed hypothesis, they predicted the results, right? They did experiments for that. If I say hypothesis is made, experiments are done, right? Results are predicted, observations are made, data is gathered, all those things I discussed, right? data analysis is done, all these things are done. Now when you make hypothesis, you do experiments, you gather results, and then the results may support a hypothesis or may be against the hypothesis. For example, your hypothesis may be failed. Okay, suppose someone makes hypothesis and that explanation is not correct, right? So hypothesis can be correct, hypothesis cannot be correct. When you do the experiment, then you will need to revise and make new hypothesis, so there will be revisions also, right? Second thing, when in the process of this science, right, there will be help from community also. Interactions with other scientists, there will be community analysis and feedback. Then there will be interaction with society. For example, if society wants that cancer further research should be there, like that, so societal needs also push for further projects, research. So society, community, all these things will also be influencing the scientific studies. And definitely exploration is done, discovery is done, right? People explore, discover, and everything is not like sequence wise. Suppose some testing hypothesis they made, then they came to know, no, we should go further and we should further explore, further observe things. So it's not that sequence way, they further go, further explore. So everything is random in science. Means everything is not stepwise simply. So this is simple thing, right? Okay, in next lecture I will discuss that mouse example. Okay, thank you.